Hi everyone, this is the Billiards Doctor here. So for today's video, I want to talk to you guys about tip tools. These are two tip tools I like to use. This is the Cuetech Bowtie tip tool, and it is great because it has three different pieces to it. It has the scuffing piece, which is up here, and that's used. What you do is you put it kind of on the edge like this. You just kind of twist your cue around it like that, and what that does is it loosens up the tip a little bit so it holds chalk better. So that's the scuff. Then there's this end here, which allows you to actually shape the cue tip to whatever type of tip tool you got. So they have different radiuses for the tip tool, which basically determines like how rounded it is. And you can go anywhere from a quarter radius, which is used for like break cues and jump cues, which is like, it's a big radius, so that's very flat. So a quarter is much flatter, so it's a flatter radius. Whereas a dime radius is usually what most players use on their playing cues, and that's going to be very rounded, so it's going to be a smaller radius. So the flatter your tip is, the less spin you get. So if you want to get spin, then most people use like a dime radius on their playing cue. But when you don't want spin like on a break cue, then you want to use a quarter. Anyway, so what you do is you can have it this side here, and you can shape it. And how I like to shape it is I usually like to put the cue up like this, and I put it down with my left hand because I'm right-handed, and I see that it's flat. I see that the tool is flat, and that when I know what I'm going to do is I'm going to twist it with my right hand, and I'm going to make sure it stays at that same height, perfectly flat the whole time, so I'm getting the exact radius that I want from the tip tool. Now, what you can do, so that was what I was doing, is I was literally keeping it perfectly straight up and down, and then I was twisting the shaft with my other hand and putting pressure with my left hand. You can do it that way. Some people also will put it at an angle. So do the same thing, so instead of having it perfectly up and down, have it at an angle, and that'll give you a different radius. I prefer to just keep it perfectly straight up and down because then I know I'm getting exactly the radius that I was supposed to get from it. And if I go dime, I know I'm getting dime, and I'm getting dime every single time. So every time I get the radius done, I get a dime radius. So that's this tip tool. It also has an aerator piece, which, so if you unscrew the cap here, it has these aerators, these like little spiky things. See here, these little spiky things. And this is used to also to kind of loosen up the tip and allow you to hold chalk better. So if you play a lot of pool and you haven't gotten your tip replaced, oftentimes the tip will harden, and when it hardens, it won't hold chalk very well. So what you can do is you can take the spikes and you can poke it like this, and that allows it to hold chalk better. It creates little tiny holes that the chalk kind of goes in the holes, and it just holds the like chalk better, so you don't have to chalk as much theoretically. I still recommend chalking after every shot, but this helps make it not so hard. That being said, there's another way to use it. You can also push into it. What you don't want to do is you don't want to push and twist. Okay, pushing and then twisting into it is going to ruin the tip. Okay, you're going to like ruin the fibers or break the fibers. You don't want to be doing that. Okay, you can tap it or you can push. Okay, you don't usually do it a lot. I don't use it a lot. I just do it like a little bit if my tip's like super hard and it's not holding chalk very well. If I miscue or something, I'll probably use this to make sure that it's holding chalk better. So that's, you have the scuffing end, like I said. The scuffing end here does something very similar to the aerator. It's pretty much the same concept. You just scuff it up to basically so it can hold chalk. You're not changing the actual shape. Whereas the other end actually allows you to actually shape the tip. So that's what I did earlier with that. Now, so this is the Cuetech Bowtie tip tool. This is the Willard's dime tip tool here. And this is, I really like this tool. This is my favorite. I really like it because it has this little arch here, and this arch is a dime radius, so it tells me exactly when it's at a dime. So what I'll do is I do the same thing I did with the Cuetech one. I'll hold it upright like this. I'll put this one up so that it's flat like this, and I'll push down with my left hand. So like this, put pressure with my left hand, and then I'll look at it and make sure that it's flat. And then I'll twist it and make sure that it's staying flat the whole time. So making sure it's staying flat like this the whole time, so I'm getting even amount on every single side. I'm getting that dime shape every single time that I have to shape my tip. And then when I'm done, I can take this tip tool and I can match it up to my cue and make sure that it fits perfectly. And if it doesn't fit perfectly, then I have to keep doing it until it does fit perfectly. And then by the time you're done, it should be a perfect dime shape. So I really like to use these. I probably use them like, I don't know, once a month or so. I'll reshape my tip, not very often. Um, I play like maybe 3 times a week for an hour and a half each time. I'll probably shape it like once a month. I get the tip replaced itself probably like once every 8 months, but make sure like just some tips for like taking care of your cue tips is you don't want to get any water or liquid on it. So like don't ever like put water on the tip. You don't want to be doing that. That's going to actually cause it to harden. Other things you want to keep in mind is that you want to make sure it doesn't get too low. So sometimes when you're playing a lot, it'll get lower and lower and lower. And if it gets too low, you can damage the ferrule, which is the white part here. So you don't want it to get too low. So make sure you're keeping an eye out for that and you get it replaced. My break cue tip got super low and I didn't even realize it till like last minute. And I was like, oh shoot, I really should get this replaced. So you want to get that replaced. And I think if there's anything else about Q-tip maintenance. It's nice before you use these tip tools that you actually take a dry paper towel and you wipe off the chalk so you don't get chalk in the tip tools, but that doesn't really matter. Just make sure the paper towel is not wet. You'll see some players will actually, like, when they chalk, after they're done chalking, they'll blow on the tip. And that's not a good habit to get into because you're actually adding, like, liquid to the tip by doing that a little bit, and that'll harden it over time. You don't want to be doing that. So ideally, try not to do that. Honestly, I've never had any issues by having too much chalk on my cue. Like, as long as you get a decent type of chalk, like Masters or Predator or something, like, it should go on pretty smoothly. Like, it's not gonna, if you have too much chalk, from my experience, I haven't had any issues with having too much chalk on the cue. So there's really no need to blow off chalk like that. It'll only add liquid to your cue and then cause your cue to like harden over time, which is not good. And that's it. And of course, there's different types of tips. You can get, like I said, the radius of the tip can vary. That's going to be the arch of the tip. And you can do like customize. You can do dime, quarter. There's other things you can do too. You get special tip tools that do each. I would recommend dime. Predator did a study about the different radii of tips, and they discovered that dime is the best overall for you to use. And if you don't use a dime and you're a beginner, I still kind of recommend doing dime because you can get used to it, and it is going to allow you to get better spin anyways, even backspin and topspin and everything. So, but it's personal preference. Like some people like do custom tip shaper, and they'll do it like even flatter than a dime, or they'll do it even more steep than a dime. So it's all personal preference. But let's see, what else? I guess that's all I got for you guys. So thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more videos.